In this video, we've rounded up the psychology facts that explain human nature and just might shed some light on a few of the patterns you notice in yourself and others. If we have a plan B, our plan A is less likely to work. Researchers found that when volunteers thought about a backup plan before starting a task, they did worse than those who hadn't thought about a plan B. What's more, when they realized they had options, their motivation for succeeding the first time around dropped. The researchers stressed that thinking ahead is a good idea, but you might be more successful if you keep those plans vague. We care more about a single person than about massive tragedies. One group learned about a little girl who was starving to death, another learned about millions dying of hunger, and a third learned about both situations. People donated more than twice as much money when hearing about the little girl than when hearing the statistics, and even the group who'd heard her story in the context of the bigger tragedy donated less. Psychologists think that we're wired to help the person in front of us, but when the problem feels too big, we figure our little part isn't doing much. Beginnings and ends are easier to remember than middles. When people are asked to recall items from a list, they're most likely to think of things from the very end, or from the very beginning. The middle gets muddled. It takes 5 positive things to outweigh a single negative thing. Our brains have something called a negativity bias that makes us remember bad news more than good, which is why you quickly forget that your coworker complimented your presentation but keep dwelling on the fact that a kid at the bus stop insulted your shoes. To feel balanced, we need at least a 5-to-1 ration of good to bad in our lives. Food tastes better when someone else makes it. Ever wonder why that sandwich from the takeout place down the street tastes better than the ones you make at home, even if you use the same ingredients? One study published in the journal Science found that when you make yourself a meal, you're around it so long that it feels less exciting by the time you actually dig in, and that, subsequently, decreases your enjoyment. We'd rather know something bad is coming than not know what to expect. It's less stressful to know something negative is about to happen. For example, there's no chance we'll get to a meeting on time, than when we don't know how things will work out. For example, we might be on time after all. That's because the part of our brain that predicts consequences, whether good or bad, is most active when it doesn't know what to expect. When one rule seems too strict, we want to break more. When people perceive certain freedoms being taken away, they not only break that rule, but they break even more than they otherwise would have in an effort to regain their freedom. This could be one of the best psychology facts to explain why a teenager who can't use his phone in class will chew gum while stealthily sending a text. We, unintentionally, believe what we want to believe. Humans are victim to something called confirmation bias, the tendency to interpret facts in a way that confirms what we already believe. So no matter how many facts you throw at your uncle trying to sway his political opinions, there's a good chance he isn't going to budge. It's one of the psychology facts you'll just have to accept that you can't change. Memories are more like pieced-together pictures than accurate snapshots. Even people with the best memories in the world can have false memories. The brain generally remembers the gist of what happens, then fills in the rest, sometimes inaccurately, which explains why you insist your wife was with you at a party 6 years ago, even though she's adamant she wasn't. Our brain doesn't think long-term deadlines are so important. Pretty much everyone has procrastinated at one time or another, even though we know logically that it would make more sense to get a jump on our taxes than to turn on Netflix. We prefer urgent, unimportant tasks because we know we'll be able to complete them. We feel more connected to a day-by-day passing of time. If you can relate with any of the mentioned fact, let us know in comments section. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe.